Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today we will embark on a journey through At the Water's Edge by Sara Gruen. At the Water's Edge, written by Sara Gruen and published in 2015, is a historical drama that blends romance, mystery, and self-discovery against the backdrop of World War II. Set in the rugged Scottish Highlands, it follows a privileged woman who is forced to confront the harsh realities of war, love, and survival. As she journeys into a world far removed from the life she knew, she uncovers dark truths, not just about those around her, but about herself. With its rich atmosphere and deep emotional core, the book captures a transformative journey of resilience and empowerment. Plot summary. The cold Scottish air carried whispers of war, but for Madeline Hyde, it was the uncharted depths of Loch Ness that pulled her toward an uncertain fate. The year was 1945, and she had been thrust from a world of crystal chandeliers and tailored silks into one of bleak moors, modest inns, and the distant echo of bombs. What had begun as a reckless escapade, an attempt to restore her husband's honor, soon unraveled into something far more sinister. Maddie had lived a life of privilege, one where the weight of expectations bore down as heavily as the furs draped over her shoulders. She and her husband, Ellis, had been exiled from Philadelphia society after a drunken indiscretion at a New Year's Eve party. The shame, however, was Ellis's alone to bear. His father, a retired colonel whose reputation had been tainted by accusations of forging evidence of the Loch Ness monster, saw his son as a failure. And Ellis, desperate to reclaim his place in his father's favor, saw only one path to redemption: succeed where the colonel had failed. He would find Nessie. With his best friend, Hank, by his side, Ellis threw himself into the journey with an obsessive fervor. The men, confident in their entitlement, reveled in their own adventure, blind to the world outside their champagne-stained bubble. But Maddie felt the shift immediately. The train ride north, the biting cold, the wary eyes of the locals, all of it pressed against her skin like a warning. The war may not have reached their doorstep, but its shadow loomed over every quiet conversation, every rationed meal, every face marked with grief. The village inn became their home, a place of cracked floorboards, whispered rumors, and the ever-present scent of damp stone. There, Maddie encountered those who would change her forever: Meg and Anna, the hardworking women who ran the inn with silent endurance, and Angus, the brooding innkeeper who seemed to see through her polished facade with unsettling ease. In their presence, she felt something unfamiliar: vulnerability. Here, she was not Madeline Hyde of Philadelphia's elite. Here, she was merely a stranger. While Ellis and Hank ventured into the misty shores of the loch, obsessed with their absurd quest, Maddie remained behind, finding solace in the rhythm of simple labor. She folded sheets, scrubbed floors, peeled potatoes with hands unaccustomed to the task. At first, it was humiliation. Then, something else: freedom. For the first time, her worth was measured not by social standing, but by effort. It was a revelation, and one that slowly began to sever the invisible chain that bound her to Ellis. The mask of her marriage began to crack. Ellis was not just indifferent, he was cruel. The charming man she had married, with his effortless wit and golden hair, had always been adept at hiding his darker inclinations. But here, far from the constraints of polite society, his true nature emerged. His temper flared at the slightest inconvenience. His jealousy festered. His control over her tightened until she could hardly breathe beneath its weight. Hank, ever the dutiful friend, enabled it all, his own arrogance shielding him from the reality Maddie had begun to see with painful clarity. And then there was Angus. Silent, steady, the kind of man who did not waste words but whose presence was more grounding than any grand ballroom. He saw Maddie's struggle before she even understood it herself. His kindness was not grandiose. It was in the way he offered her work without judgment, in the way he shielded her from Ellis's wrath when the air in the inn grew thick with tension. In his quiet strength, she found a lifeline. The hunt for Nessie continued, but it became clear to Maddie that the monster was not lurking beneath the water but beside her, in the man she had sworn to love. Ellis's temper turned violent, his desperation curdling into something dangerous. His failures mounted, his father did not care for his expedition, the locals laughed at his foolishness, and worst of all, Maddie was slipping from his grasp. The more she withdrew, the tighter he held on. One night, as a storm raged outside, the true depth of Ellis's cruelty was laid bare. He struck her. The world spun, not from the force of the blow alone, but from the sheer, undeniable truth of it. This was who he was, This was who he had always been, and she would not stay. She fled into the rain, the cold seeping into her bones, but Angus was there. Without hesitation, without question, he took her in. His presence was a quiet promise. She was not alone. In the flickering candlelight of the inn's kitchen, surrounded by warmth that had nothing to do with fire, Maddie understood. She had spent her life bound by expectation, by fear. No more. In the days that followed, she learned of Ellis's final descent. His drunken rage had driven him to reckless folly, leading to an accident that left him stranded in the wilderness. The villagers did not rush to his aid. Even Hank, who had once stood so steadfastly beside him, did not stay. And Maddie, though guilt weighed heavily upon her, did not look back. The loch stretched before her, dark and unknowable, holding its secrets close. Somewhere beneath its surface, perhaps, a monster lurked. But she no longer needed to see it to believe in the unknown. She had faced her own monsters and emerged whole. She was free. Hope you had fun. There's more where that came from. Explore other books by Sara Gruen. Find them below or search Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Sara Gruen's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.